Hey, what's going on everybody? Mike here, AHC Garage. Welcome back to the channel. Today we finally got John's 94 Acura NSX back in the shops. We got a whole entire list of things we have to do. So why don't we get with him and he will tell us what we'll be doing today.
Finally got my car in the shop. It's a little bit dirty. She's been sitting down for a few months because as it goes, the mechanic never has time to work on his own car. I'm always trying to fix everyone else's car, and it was a busy year. We had a lot of NSXs come through the shop. That kept me busy. But now my baby needs some love, and we have quite a bit of list of stuff, and I've been collecting parts for probably 3 or 4 years now, and it seems like my time's up on the list and we're ready to get going. So we have a few things we have to do, and we'll go over some of them. First off, this is my car. Me and my father got it in 2002, my senior year in high school. It was his car up until about 5 or 6 years ago, and he passed it down to me. So it's been in the family for quite some time, and me and him modified it together. And now that's been passed on to me, and these are some of the shortcomings that I have on it and things I've been needing to keep up on. So one of the first things we have up front here is this runs a very tight compact space in the back as far as the headlights go, and it's always had HIDs on it, and I've replaced them with a newer HID, but it's time to put an LED into there, and we have a really nice set of the Sealights, and we're gonna go ahead and install them and tell you about what they are and how they're gonna be better than what I already have in the car. This should be pretty straightforward and very helpful. The next thing we have is we have a KoyoRad radiator for this, KoyoRad. This is a new replaced radiator, OEM, that I put in about 3 years ago when I had intentions of driving this to the tail of the Dragon. But what's wrong with a little bit more cooling power here, so we're gonna go ahead and put that in. And also I have a clutch that was gifted to me from all the local NSX guys. They chipped in and they bought me a Science of Speed clutch, and I've been sitting on that for about 3 years now myself, and we'll get a chance to do that. My fuel pump is going bad, I'm not sure. We'll take you for a ride and take a look at it, and I have a couple other oil leaks and things that I need to go ahead and conquer. So this will be the start of this series with it, and I think we're gonna end up starting with some of the simple stuff, probably the headlights first, and then we'll move on to some of the other things. All right, so here's the Sealights LED bulbs. These things are pretty awesome. We put a different model on our buddy Nam's DB8 Integra for the tail of the Dragon in our prep video. This one's a different model, the X5 model. So I'm going to show you a little bit about this. They come with extra zip ties for attaching some of the wiring and some double-sided foam tape as well. Additional O-rings for it if you change them and you pinch anything. Your user manuals. And the cool thing about these is they come with a very nice pair of gloves that don't fit my hands, but they fit Mike's because he has very petite hands, and I don't fall into that category. So the nice thing about these is, like our other ones, is they're fully aluminum except for the mounting points, and they run a very high-speed fan in it, and they use a copper heat sink inside that helps disperse the temperature, because the LEDs, they produce a lot of heat, and that's the big issue with them, is that sometimes they run a very big fan. So the idea behind these is that the fan isn't as big and it's all compact. This has the direction for the tab here, so you know which way to plug it in, so you can't get that wrong. And also the length of this equals the same length as the bulb does standard. As you can see right here, that's actually the stock bulb's a little bit longer. So this makes sure that if you have a headlight that's a non-projector, it's still going to reflect properly inside of the headlight. On the projector, this is going to give us a nice straight cutoff line, which the projector already does, but this helps intensify that a little bit more. 6500K, cool white light, and we're getting about 60,000 hours of burn time on these. That's what they're claiming. They've been around for a long time, so I'm probably going to believe them. And on top of that, I think it's 35,000 lumens. So it's a pretty awesome setup, and I'll show you what it takes to actually change the bulbs and what I have on there existing. We got to take a little bit apart to get to the headlights on the NSX, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. The NSX headlight's pretty neat. It runs a double projector inside of a glass housing. That means we have two different bulbs here, and to get proper access to the back of here, we have to remove the headlight cover. It's not very hard. All you gotta do is pop off these two caps on the side and remove 4 screws, and it comes right out. So we'll show you how that goes. All right, so you see all this here. This is the ballast and igniter for the old HID system, and this runs 2 different ones. I think we're gonna mess with the high beam first, and then we'll deal with this separate. So I got the cap off, and this one's pretty simple. You just give her a little twist. All right, let's give it a test shot.
So this is the low beam and the high beam. Now, on the passenger side, we went ahead and changed out the low beam, but you can take a look at the high beam on the passenger side and compare it to this right here. Man, it looks really good, John.
Yeah, it's definitely much better than the halogen that was there. I definitely like it. So now you can see how nice the headlights fill the road now, and I'll throw the high beams on. Oh yeah.
Oh my
They'll
God.
see me coming.
Wow, I really love these LED headlights. Really brighten up the road here. Look, even the reflector shines so well.
Oh yeah, you can see everything.
Now we're on the road. I know that there were a few things that you were concerned about with the drivability. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so when I brought the car to the shop where I have it in my storage, it's been throwing a check engine light on the last few times I brought it out, and it's thrown it for code 1 and code 2, which is for the O2 sensors 1 and 2, but they can't go bad at the same time. I've already replaced them. And then when I drive it, I give it gas, the car hesitates before it starts going. And when every once in a while you'll see the check engine light will throw, maybe not if I'm driving erratically like this, but when I just drive it regular, the check engine light will come on, and I'm pretty sure, because we had a mess of them come through the dealership, the fuel pumps are going bad on these. And it's hard to diagnose because the check engine light it throws is for O2 sensors, and it's not saying that it's lean, but that's what causes it to go on. And it's one of those things that you only really learn about if you've worked on the cars for a while and you start to see a rhythm of it, because on an OBD1 older 30 plus year old car, the diagnosis of the computer is very limited. Like, this won't tell me which cylinder's misfiring, it'll just tell me that there's a misfire in the system. So it's definitely a little trickier to diagnose, but we've had pretty good experience with these lately, and I'm leaning towards a fuel pump. And on top of that, replacing a fuel pump on a 30-year-old car probably isn't bad maintenance anyways. So we sourced a Science of Speed kit, and we'll put a link on it in the description here. And it's a really nice kit. It uses a Walbro 255 with a rubber insulator that goes around it, so you don't get a whine from the aftermarket fuel pump. And it has all the necessary connections, everything you need to install it, with very good instructions, Science of Speed stuff. We love it, and we recommend it all the way through. And I think that'll be my next thing that we do on this car, even before we do the clutch.
So I guess we're gonna hit up the highway, we'll put some miles on it, and then we're gonna head back to the shop. We're gonna drop that fuel tank. Let's go, John. All right, so we're back in the shop, and John got this really nice NSX fender covers here.
Yeah, so this is not the factory one. We have our factory one here, but the padding on it's dried out, and it kind of scratches the car a little bit. So this is an aftermarket one that we've been using at the dealership for a little while. And this is just going to be so that we can lean over the fender and not scratch the car. But we have to start by disconnecting our fuel line here, where it goes from the fuel tank to our fuel filter. Then we got to remove the air box and gain access to the fuel filler neck and disconnect that in a vent hose. Then we have to go behind the seat and unplug the electrical components from the tank, and then everything else happens underneath the car. So what we're going to replace it with is the Science of Speed Walbro 255 pump kit. Their kit comes with everything you need to do this. The rubber piece for the mounting on the bottom. It comes with the strainer and all associated stuff. It also comes with this rubber insulator that goes around the pump, and this quiets it up and stops it from giving you the whine that you hear on a lot of the Walbro aftermarket pumps. So that's the entire kit. It comes with all the harness and necessary stuff and very detailed instructions on how to do everything yourself. It's not a horrible job. It just takes some finagling because it's really in the middle of the car. But this is something that we've been seeing go bad a whole lot on a bunch of NA1s, and there's a ton of them out there. So this is also a good maintenance thing. The cost of this is less than $200 for the parts, and it's mostly a labor associated job. But you guys can go ahead and take a look at it and see what we're doing. Without a lift, it's probably not the easiest job, but come take a look and see what it's all about. This is going to be our fuel pump access panel right here. Three screws, and then we'll get this off. All right, so what we unplug is this. Leave everything in here, put this inside. Now the pump, this is the fuel sending unit. The fuel pump is located on the other side. So yes, they only gave us access to the fuel sending unit as far as the gauge goes, but they didn't give us easy access to the fuel pump itself. It makes perfect sense. Maybe, I don't know. But that's all we got to do inside the car. So let's get underneath the engine cover and see about taking everything apart there. So this is the carbon fiber Comtech intake box. They sold it in two different options. This is the scoop that hooks up to the factory scoop there. So a good option that a lot of people did as upgrades, they just did the bottom piece. And then they kept the factory top one. But when me and my father got this, we decided we wanted to totally bling it out. Has a K&N filter in there. Looks like it needs some cleaning. This thing is right on the side of the car, and it uses the actual scoop. So this thing is very old and discontinued.
What do you think, about 30 years old?
Yeah, maybe a little less, because we bought it in 2003 is when we went to the actual Acura dealership and purchased all the Comtech stuff. We purchased the intake, the exhaust, high flow cats, headers, and an ECU all at the same time, while we got the initial service done. Because when we got this car, I did not know how to work on it, and I had to bring it to an Acura dealership to get good work done. So it's got a little age. These are a little bit difficult. I think I'm going to get my pick and some silicone to try and lubricate. As you can see, this part of my car doesn't come apart too often. I also have a leaking axle, so I got some axle grease all over the place because this is the transmission right here. My starter's been giving me a little trouble because a while ago I had this tank crack and a couple of the coolant hoses, and it sprayed a bunch of coolant on the starter. So as for right now, we're changing the parts that I have acquired, and other stuff we can always come back and get at. So let's go ahead and continue to pull everything apart and see what we can get. So those hoses there, they're kind of a pain because you can't remove the clamp on the big one out of the way. So you have to release the clamp with a pair of pliers and pry the hose off at the same time. I put some silicone on there and used some hose picks to try and break it free, and then we were able to work it right off. So now what we have to do is remove the feed line on this. So we have our feed line and our return line are disconnected over here. When we start to drop the tank, we have to feed those down into this little hole. So everything up top is done. So we're going to go ahead and move underneath the car and get to the next part. All right, so underneath the car, you can see, as I was saying, we have a Comtech exhaust back here. Has some axle grease on it from this axle that's been spitting. It's the original. We got grease kind of shooting out everywhere. This is one of the things that we're going to handle when we do the clutch. My axle seal is leaking a little bit as well. So this is a Comtech Sport exhaust, and the original one that we got back in 03-04 with the Comtech headers, and I removed the high flow cats on here and put test pipes because I want a little bit more sound out of it. That being said, this is what we're going after here. This is the fuel tank. Here's our drain for it. Not too much has to come out of the way to get it out. The shift linkage has to come out of the way, which is just detached from the bottom of the transmission right here. We're going to do that first. Then we're going to drain whatever's left in the tank, which isn't even that much. I don't even know if I should even drain it. There's probably only a gallon left in it. Might be easier to just leave it in the tank. It won't weigh that much. And then we'll remove this bracket here, and then we have the straps, and this thing's going to come right out 1, 2, 3.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so we got the tank down, and this is where the fuel pump is. So to access it, it's not that big of a deal. We have one clip here. We're going to disconnect the feed line. And we'll disconnect our return line. All right, so as you can see, this is the original fuel pump. It's pretty rough looking. She's old. These are very inefficient older models. You can see the size of the new one. This will put out twice as much fuel pressure as this one, and it's half the size. So we'll show you exactly how we take this apart and then get everything installed with the new one. So what we're doing is we're adding our butt connector crimps that come with the kit onto the existing harness. Make a nice good crimp on that. These don't need to be soldered. It's completely fine to do it the way it is right now. Now we have our harness made. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little lube on this so that we can easily slide it into here. So now it comes with a new isolator for the bottom that fits right into place, and what this is going to do is take up the space here. Also, what we have to do is we have to put our new hose on and our clamps. Whoop. We don't have to tighten these yet. I like to install the new connector. And now it's in. Now we make our electrical connections, tighten our clamps, and we are good to go. So now we have the entire new assembly installed on here. You can trim off this extra hose. I just leave it on there. It doesn't really bother me. Good thing is we didn't drain any of the fuel out of the car since there was only maybe about a gallon or two left in it. So it wasn't too heavy. But we'll see how difficult that makes putting it back in. So down inside there's a little sub tank, and what that does is it tries to isolate fuel around the fuel pickup so that you won't slosh and lose fuel pressure. So let's go ahead and slide this guy in. It's a little tight. This pump is bigger because of the rubber on it, but it's not too hard to get in there. Hold it.
1 second.
Get the little guy in?
Yep.
All right, so we got the tank in. It's install in reverse order. Hook up your hoses, put everything back in, and it's already done. It's pretty simple, so you can watch along. This part's gonna go real quick. right, so we got the fuel tank in, we got it started. I timed this perfectly because I'm like on empty right now. I don't know if you guys can see it. So we're gonna go for a little drive, but the weather doesn't look so good. But let's go to the gas station, fill it up, and see what we can do. All right, so I think we're gonna cancel the test drive for tonight. Just driving around locally, we found that it was doing pretty good just here in the parking lot. Before, when I would start it, it would long crank and give me a hesitate to accelerate. But we got her topped off. She was bone dry, it took almost 14 gallons. We had just about 1.25 gallons left in here. And right now we're gonna bring it back to the shop and close up the video for now and get ready for the next one, because next one's gonna be nice. I think this one was a pretty good success. We were able to do the Sealight high and low beam LEDs on the car, which perform beautifully. And you can see here, I'll throw the high beams on. That is incredible light, and I'm totally happy with that. Really good quality product. There's a lot of different options out there, but this one went really good for us. And we also were able to put the Science of Speed Walbro 255 fuel pump kit. That's specific for the NSX. They go the extra mile to make it functional, which is what I love about it. And I don't have any whining from it. It's helped with some of my check engine lights and hesitation issues I was having with the car previously. And on the next episode, we're going to be doing the Science of Speed intake, variable runner intake flapper valve delete. They came up with the whole entire CNC kit. It's very reasonably priced, not too hard to install, and they have dyno proven results to show it doesn't rob power. It actually adds a very small amount of performance, and it saves your engine from possible failure when the screws back out of the manifold. Now on top of that, we have the clutch to do and some oil leaks and axles to rebuild. So this has been a big mission for me to try and get stuff done on my car. I hope you guys follow us for the rest of the series. Be sure to subscribe. I'm sure you like it, because if you watch this much of it, you guys are about this kind of life. So definitely like, follow, and subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next one.